Episode 4, Graham. Once upon a time, there were two men sitting in two separate buildings, talking to each other, having never met. Story time!
Yes.
I'm looking forward to this one. It's a big old subject, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah. And it's one of the missing pieces quite often in a great pitch.
It is, and I think it's one of the misinterpreted pieces as well, which is an interesting thing. But Graham, I want to kick today off. I want to kick off with a little quiz, actually, mate. And I'm going to ask you, can you see that?
Yes.
I want to ask you, what does that say to you? What do you think that is?
It's like a tornado.
Tornado, that's a good one. Yeah, I get tornadoes with that quite a lot, actually. I've also had things like Brillo pads as well, which is an interesting one. But if I show you that, what is that?
Well, a wave, breaking wave. I'm not sure what's in the...
Yeah, I know you can't quite see it, can you? But it is actually birds flocking above a breaking wave. And I show that to my clients sometimes because I think that's a really good example of why story is so important. Because what you get with that one, you essentially get the data. That is a graphic representation of what birds look like in flight. They're flocking and they're circling and they're changing altitude and they're veering to the right to avoid each other. But the story is actually creatures in action interacting with each other. And the thing I like about showing that to people is it demonstrates how when we receive data, and words are data, what we're doing in our head is we're trying to figure out what that looks like. What is the story of what it is that we've actually just seen? And I think that the whole purpose of story in any presentation is to tell a better story than the people are already telling themselves. Get an image very clearly in your head of what your offering is going to look like and feel like, and transfer that imagery into the people's heads that you're speaking to. That's the basis of storytelling in a nutshell. Absolutely true. Do you know, I don't know if you found this, Graham, as well, but the interesting thing is that I find that a lot of proposals stay at what I'd call the assertion level, where people actually just make assertions about their product or about their offering. And the worst one is, I am passionate about this, or we are passionate about X, which quite frankly, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody needs to hear that. But I mean, it's to actually tell the story that shows that demonstrates that. And people make the inference that you are passionate about what it is you're doing so much stronger. And for me, that's essentially what story is all about. And it's the power of story because it sticks and it gets retold. It does your marketing for you in some ways. Now listen, Graham, I know that you guys over at Strategic Proposals, you've got a way of thinking about it. There are almost 3 levels to story that you think about, aren't there, when you're preparing pitches for people?
Yeah, it's a really simple model to remember. So there's a backstory. So this is the one you wouldn't necessarily think about when you walk into the room when you click on the Zoom call.
So old-fashioned.
Yes, I know. I'm not on trend, am I? It's your demeanor, your conduct, your energy level. It's the untold narrative that you're portraying onto the person watching you, listening to you. Now, you often don't think about that, but you are creating an impression. And if you're not creating the right impression, I mean, look at us. We got our wardrobes lined up, so we have white t-shirts underneath. But it's it's right down to some of that sort of basic stuff. That's the backstory, the stuff that you're not hearing and seeing kind of naturally and picking up. But that's the backstory. You've got to get your backstory right.
Yep.
Then there's the big story. So what is the story of the value that you're telling your client? It explains what your proposition is, why it's better than the competition's, how it's going to work for them, how it's going to take them from where they are today to where they want to get to on that kind of journey. That's the story, what you're going to do for them. And normally that's the clever script with some nice visuals to help to do that. That's the second one. So we've got the backstory, the big story. Then you've got the story within the stories. And this links into what we talked about last time. The little anecdotes, the little bits of where you've overcome a challenge, the little success stories that you tell along the way.
Absolutely.
That make people believe you then, and they can see you've got the expertise and the knowledge. when you do that. So that's the three types of story that we talk about.
I really like splitting that up, actually. Let's come to those anecdotes in a little while, actually, because I'd like to, because actually that's my home game, if you like. That's the thing that I deal in. But there's something that you guys have, which is a transformation map, which I'd really like to show people. So I'll get that up on screen now. So Graham, here we have it. Look at that little forest we're heading into. That's an interesting metaphor in itself. Talk me through this transformation map.
It is. Well, it's so simple, but it's just thinking about where is the client today? What's their current state? Have they got any pain points, challenges? Could be hundreds of different things, but that is your once upon a time, the start of your story. Every classic fairy story starts like that. What we want to get them to is happily ever after. So what's it going to feel like for them, to look like, to be like, when those challenges and those problems have been overcome? And guess what? We understand both of those points, so that's a good thing to share with you to start with. And then the middle bit is what we are going to do, what our organization, our people, our tools are going to do to help get you to happily ever after.
Yeah.
And by the way, watch out for some of these nasty things along the way, these pitfalls, which you've got to watch out for because we've overcome them in the past, and we'll make sure you don't fall over those and trip over those.
I love the simplicity of that, and I mean that in the best possible way. I've started recently working with an organization called Anecdote International, who are based in Australia, and I'm delivering their story-powered sales program in Europe and the UK. Though we're still Europe until the 31st of December, aren't we? Get the politics in there. And the interesting thing is that they are very clear about what story is. A story has to have a sequence of events. Otherwise, it isn't a story. This happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And because of that, this happened. And it has time, and it had place, and it has people. And the surprise is an interesting thing because, like you said, that's what keeps people's attention. I went down to the shops and I bought myself a packet of tea, but on the way home, I tripped and all the tea fell into a puddle. Within any story, within any small anecdote that people are telling within a pitch situation, you have to find the but situations. It's the things the struggles you had to overcome, the little surprises that were in there. If something is just, we did this and we did this and then we did this and then we did this and this was the end result, you just end up looking boring. So what do you reckon? Do you think we got one more of these in us before Christmas? Because I'm quite interested in thinking about the whole rehearsal process and what that's about. How do you fancy doing one on that?
Yeah, definitely. Pantomime season is coming, so we better get some rehearsals in.
The client's behind you, Graham. Okay, guys. Any questions down below? We'll see you one last time before Christmas. Get your stories in order. Really look forward to seeing you next time. See you, Graham.
Cheers. Thank you.